In Age of Empires news, Age of Empires 4 is being treated as a fresh start, and that means it's going to do things differently. In this video, we take a look at what Adam Isgreen, the creative director of Age of Empires, said in an interview about the early days of development on Age of Empires 4. Age of Empires 4 development has begun and is a monumental undertaking that will bring the famed real-time strategy series into a new age. Generally speaking, the longer a genre exists, the games that are responsible for taking it forward tend to make it more complicated. With Age of Empires 4, it was important for us to be like, okay, how do we back away from that? We do not want to take on all of the complexity that we see in RTS games today, Isgreen explains. This is a fresh start for us. We want to modernize the series, and that means we are going to do things differently. But this is still going to be an Age of Empires game, Isgreen says. There are two things that you learn from opening up 20-year-old code. The first is that it's almost like speaking a different language. People didn't think about coding in the same way that we do today. Also, the core of it was untouchable for the community, the time to kill, the flow of it, the pace of it, it's all so important to the game. We weren't going to mess with that, Isgreen tells me. So our challenge has been taking all of that nostalgia and making it real. So people are like, oh, yeah, this is great. This is totally what I remember, and it's totally not what you remember. It's got all this extra stuff around it to make it feel, look, and play like a great experience today. Isgreen wouldn't be drawn on whether Age of Empires 4 would feature Total War-style unit selection systems. However, box selecting entire armies looks to be a thing of the past. Microsoft are choosing not to confirm the civilizations that will be in the game or what the 4 core resources will be. Isgreen said that Age of Empires 4 won't necessarily stick to the 4-age rule of previous games. Microsoft did reveal the game's first two civilizations, the English and Mongols. The English intentionally play a lot like what you'd expect of something from a previous Age of Empires game, Isgreen says. The Mongols do not, they play completely differently. We have this wonderful spectrum of civilizations, and that's so there is always a super accessible way that people can get into it. There's going to be this wonderful spectrum of different ways that you can enjoy Age of Empires. We could never do that before. Isgreen says that Relic Entertainment has been hard at work engineering a brand new iteration of its Essence engine. We're doing something very different with the campaign. I can't talk about it, but it's really crazy cool, Isgreen states. I can say that we will be bringing history in a fun and exciting way to people. The way we coined it for Age of Empires 4 is humanized histories. We can expect new mechanics and engine capabilities. Franchise creator Ensemble Studios shuttered in the last decade, causing scaling back of development on the real-time strategy icon. Free-to-play PC and mobile experiences followed from external developers, pursuing accessibility over the core foundations that shaped the series' success. Sega's Relic Entertainment is in charge of game development for Age of Empires 4. They also develop Homeworld, Warhammer 40,000, and Company of Heroes. We have contracts, you know about 3 of our partners, Relic, Tantalus, and Forgotten Empires, says Shannon Loftus, the head of Microsoft Game Studios. We have others that we're not talking about yet. But it is truly a global development team. All the teams are working together to share assets, to share ideas. The legacy teams are working with Relic. We're dealing with an IP that is based on human history, where there's unlimited opportunity to tell stories. We're dealing with RTS, which is a genre that has yielded so many other genres and continues to hold its own. And yet, there's also a lot of innovation opportunity in the gameplay. Finally, we had this amazing community that even when we walked away, made console games, and didn't pay attention to Age of Empires for a while, they kept it going. They have this sort of endless passion. We're looking for the edges. But there aren't any edges. This is a very global game, and so, World's Edge. We've learned so much with all of the launches, said Adam Isgreen, creative director at World's Edge. It's been a real growing experience, but it's unfair to say that it's one way. There are things that we've learned in the development of Age of Empires 4 that we can even put into Age 2. For example, the network technology behind the scenes is actually from Relic. All of the Definitive Edition games are now going to have Relic's modern networking backend. It's this great two-way conversation between the old games and the new one, about what we're going to share, and how we're going to grow the games. The approach to civilizations was something we felt we needed to modernize and push the civilizations further apart,